I'm screaming. I wouldn't let him touch me because I was in such shock, guys. It took 5 people to lift me to the car because finally they're like, you gotta go to the hospital. They're gonna have to give you some kind of painkiller and pop it back in place. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's Q&A. So I am very hyped this morning. I'm very excited to be talking to you guys. Zoe, where are you going? You're supposed to be my Q&A buddy. Come back. You're just leaving me. Come here. I feel like this light behind me is kind of annoying, or it makes me look angelic. One of the two. So I am very excited for today's Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, but I will tell you the reason why I'm so excited. A couple of days ago, I did my very first Zoom call. You're back. Oh, kind of. I'm sure you guys will see it in a minute. I did my very first Zoom call on Patreon, and it was so life-giving and amazing. And if you were on that call and you're watching, thank you again. I know I've already thanked you guys like 4 times on Instagram and Patreon, but it was so cool. If you've been watching my channel for a long time, you guys know that I've been making videos for like 12 years now. And over the years, over my many seasons on YouTube, I have done a lot of meetups. And the thing is, even pre-YouTube, I did a lot of meetups before I was like in-person things. Meetups is not a good way to put it. I've done a lot of in-person things through my life. Like I'm a theater kid at heart. I love theater. And prior to YouTube, I was working at theme parks, as you guys may or may not know. So I had a lot of in-person time. Oh, you're back. Yay. With people. And obviously everything really changed a lot in like so many different ways. Like I'm obviously referring to COVID and how everyone's lives have changed dramatically and lockdowns and all of that. But then even like my own personal stuff that has unfolded, I've just found myself not like, I haven't set up any meetups in the last couple of years. So it was really cool to get to talk to some of you guys in person. And if any of you guys are interested in joining our next call, I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing it next week. So it is a patrons only call. And if you've never checked out my Patreon, I upload exclusive content over there, mostly videos, but sometimes just pictures and posts. Like I'll write things out. And then now in this case, like I just said, I'm doing a Zoom call and it was just really cool. So I think that doing that call hyped me up a lot. I said that to Dan. I'm like, Dan, I need to be doing these like much more frequently because it was such a good feeling to actually talk to people who watch my content. Here's the thing. Comments are amazing. I love comments. Please leave a comment. I read all the comments. And there is a level of like connection through writing, right? I mean, people would write letters, like that's connection. But it just adds this other layer of like, oh, good, you're not a robot. When you see someone's face, although now with all the AI stuff, honestly, someone could be a robot. They could be wearing a filter. Who knows? But that's all besides the point. I am here today back to do a Q&A, and I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in because you all already know I'm going to be talking for 12 and a half years. It's so funny because I love talking and explaining details and filling in stories and answering questions. But whenever I start these videos, I have a little bit of anxiety, even on days like today where I'm super excited to be doing this, because I just know that I'm about to talk for 12 years. That's not the tone we want to set at the top of this video, huh? Me admitting that I get anxious by how much I talk. It's just because sometimes I'm just like, can't you just be like a TikToker? Can't you just like summarize things short and make short form content? And I'm over here like, nope, got to talk for 12 years. So here we go. Diving in. Okay, so this first question says, how is your food course coming along? From Maribel, 1995. Okay, so it's going well. I would tell you guys to go sign up for the wait list, but I actually have the wait list closed. I will be reopening it in the next probably 2 months. Once the course is closer to completion, I will open up the wait list again, like I said, in the next month or 2. But it's going well. I'm continuing to adjust it. I'm actually planning on filming some of the course today, actually part of the modules. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I'm getting more and more like excited as I move forward towards completion because it's a big project. I've never actually done a project this big, I don't think, where it's like one thing that I'm working on for an extended period of time. And if you guys don't know what she's talking about, can I say the name? I've named the course and I'm like hesitant to name it because it's not actually, or to tell you, because it's not actually out yet. I'm like, is anyone going to steal my name? I think that's me thinking too highly of the name that I came up with. But I will tell you, the course is called Flourish. And just like the name implies, that is the goal of the course, to help people flourish, not only in their bodies, but in their minds in regards to food and health and wellness. And so that's kind of a part of what I talk about. A big part is like my attitude around food, how I developed what I consider to be a very healthy relationship with food now. And, you know, people ask me questions. We'll be talking about this in the course too, but like the question right next to this, ironically, from someone else is, how do you maintain your weight? And I will be talking about this in the course as well. Here's the thing. I have like 82 thoughts around it. What else would you expect from me in a Q&A but to have 82 thoughts around one topic? Because I've mentioned this before. I don't hold the belief that because someone maybe has excess weight on them, has weight to lose, that it means that they're just an overeater or that it means that they just need to cut calories. That actually, the whole calorie counting thing, how do I phrase this? Knowing calories, I think, can be a very helpful and useful tool, because in some ways there is this element of like, you want to lose weight, you eat less calories. But I actually don't think that that's a nuanced view enough for overall health and even weight loss, because obviously we care more about just like about our health than just our weight. Counting calories can sometimes cause problems for people because there's a lot of foods that are lower in calories that are not nutritionally dense. Wow, that sentence was hard to get out. It's not nutritionally dense food, but it might be low in calories. And I'm not talking necessarily about like fruits and vegetables, which can be lower-ish in calories, because those actually are full of nutrients. Now, I think you need more nutrients than just plants. I've said this before. I've gone through this kind of journey over the last couple of years where now I actually believe that there are fat-soluble vitamins that are within animal products that our body can only get from these fat-soluble vitamins, that we can't actually get them from plants. Did that sentence come together? I feel like that sentence kind of made sense. You get my gist. So to circle back to your question about how I maintain my weight, that is part of what we'll be talking about in the course, even though I know I already said that. But balance, and I feel like that's annoying, but that is my honest answer. I haven't been on a diet in so long. Like, honestly, the last time I was on a diet was when I was still struggling with an eating disorder, like end of high school. And I just haven't since then, because I hit this point that was such a deep revelation. I've talked about this before, where I felt like I had given it my all. I had an eating disorder. Like, looking back at what I was doing to my body, I was giving it what I deemed to be my all in a very unhealthy way. And I wasn't getting the results that in my head I wanted. And that was really like a come to Jesus moment for me. Like, oh, so you're really going to beat your body up like this to not even like be satisfied with the body that you have? Like, you're not getting what you want. So maybe this isn't the way that you should try to get it, but also maybe you're holding on to an image that is not realistic. So both of those things kind of coming together at once really helped me, because I realized, A, it wasn't worth my energy mentally, emotionally, physically to try to attain this body that I decided was like the perfect body. So I was like, wow, I got to give up on that. This is driving me insane. So letting go of that was helpful. But then also realizing, well, if this extreme way of eating didn't get me that, if I ever have a chance of getting that, which I kind of simultaneously let go, because I realized like, whoa, life is way too short, like chill. But I realized it's not going to be that way. And so I ended up going down like that unhealthy way. That's not how I'm going to get that body of my dreams, which, like I said now 12 times, I kind of dropped in my mind and realized through a lot of different things, including the fact that if you look back in history, there have been many different body types in women that have been valued throughout history. And so realizing like I could be doing something to myself only to turn around and then it's like not in vogue to be that body type. You know what I mean? I realized I just need to like embrace the body type I have. And like, that's what's in style for me. Like, that's my body type. And so I had a lot of revelations at the end of high school when I was coming out of my disordered eating. And so because of all of that, like I said, I've not been on a diet since. I haven't felt like there was a reason. And I really focused on, and this is the core of the question, how you maintain your weight, nutritionally dense food, following my cravings to a degree, unless they were really what I would consider like not healthy cravings. Even still, sometimes I give into that, but I mostly try to turn those cravings towards what I would deem to be healthy junk food, something that's a little like on the spectrum of good, better, best, or bad, badder, and worse. It's not a word, roll with me. It's like I try to just pick something a little bit better. And I feel like that balance of how I treat my body mentally, how I eat, the type of nutrients I try to get in my body, which is a lot and nutritionally dense. So high amounts of good quality fruits and vegetables and good quality meats and dairy and eggs, butter, all of that. I try to get good stuff that I feel like my body is going to use into my body. The thing is, calories, I actually know someone who's very thin and eats like over 4,000 calories a day. And she feels like it's because her body is, and this is kind of a newer time in life for her, she feels like her body is really in repair mode and needs those calories. And they're all very like healthy, life building calories. You know, she's not like eating Doritos. Point being though, she's very thin. And I just think that calories is not a broad enough way to look at it, but it's a good thing to be aware of. Like, I'm not completely unaware when I'm eating throughout the day how caloric something might be. I have a guesstimate a lot of the times, but that's not my focus. My focus is nutrition. And another focus along with that, and I think it's very important for maintaining weight, is sleep. You guys know I protect my sleep very fiercely. I think it's important to get enough sleep. It's important to get good quality sleep. And that's a whole topic in and of itself, including how you kind of monitor the lights in your home. There have actually been studies that I heard of recently. I didn't read them. I read like the synopsis that was basically saying that when people don't adjust the lighting in their home to match the lighting outside, like naturally happening in the earth around them, that can mess with the hormones in their body. And obviously your hormones dictate a lot and can also affect your weight sometimes if they're out of whack. So it's very holistic. And I guess that would be the best answer to give you, is the way I manage my weight is very holistically. I think of it as being a lot of things. I think of it as like grounding every day, getting outside, getting my eyes exposed to sunshine, getting my feet in the dirt. Drinking good quality water, making sure you're getting enough minerals. Like, is your water mineralized? I drank water for a long time without realizing that supposedly the water is unmineralized. Now I add trace minerals back into my water. So it's really, I don't necessarily believe in just straight up like, we're going to do this and lose weight. I think it's a lot of things. I'm not against people losing weight. I think it can be very good for people who have excess weight to lose it. I will say there's this whole thing around excess weight. Like in general, I'd say a lot of people would agree that being overweight is unhealthy. And that is the camp I tend to sit in. But there's also this whole thing online, if you're ever bored and you want to look at it, called like the fat myth or the fat hypothesis or something like that, where there's basically a bunch of people that are looking into the supposed fact that fat can actually be protective. So supposedly I've heard some people speculate that of all the people that were hospitalized with COVID, people that were actually overweight were more likely to survive than the people that were underweight or on the thinner side. So, you know, I think losing weight can be good, but I think it has to be done through the lens of being healthy and making that an all-encompassing endeavor, if that makes sense, because the body works, there's a lot of pieces that work together. And so supporting your body to be vibrant and to flourish, I think is really important. So I'm going to move on to the next question because I already just spent 1 billion years on that question. Oh, I did 2 questions. I forgot it went from one to the next. So, okay, we're doing good. 2 questions down. Sometimes I get questions and I can't remember if I've answered them or not. Someone just asked me, Creekside Chickens, hey girl, said books you're reading or audio, which you already totally know it's an audiobook. Raise your hand if you also start 10 books and take 3 years. That. I also download a lot of books that I don't necessarily start, but they stay in like my little digital library till I'm ready to read them. I think I mentioned, I don't know if this is old news. That's the thing. I'm like flashing back. I'm sorry if I've already told you guys this. I went on a spree for like 2 months listening to like all of John Taylor Gatto's books, which if you are a homeschooler or you're interested in homeschooling, I think that John Taylor Gatto, I would say, has the best language out there, but it's not like I've done a deep dive into a ton of homeschooling books. But that is my immediate feeling about him. Like his language around homeschooling and is just superb. I've told this before. He worked in the public school system for like 20 something years, won like New York City Teacher of the Year, New York State Teacher of the Year. And he's basically like anti-public school system. Well, really, he's anti-compulsory education. So I listened to all of his books. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember what I've told you guys, what I haven't. I have been binging now for like a year, all of the audiobooks on the Canon Plus app, which Canon Plus is connected to Doug Wilson's church up in Moscow. It's like a super duper conservative Christian church. I'm always, whenever I start talking about people, I'm like, do I go off the deep end? Do I say it? I guess I could say it and always edit it later. A lot of people really don't like them. I get why. They're very, I don't know, like I jokingly, when I'm referring to them or any of their books or certain podcasts, I'll sometimes like shorthand it. I'll be like, oh yeah, I was listening to like the uptight Christians. And I don't really mean that. That's just the joke because they're very, I don't even know how to word it. Let's just say very different Christians than what I was exposed to growing up. And you know, side note, without going off onto this too, within Christianity, there's a lot of infighting that happens. Like a lot of other Christians don't even like them because they either feel like they're not Christians or whatever. So there's a lot of controversy around all of them. But I've been binge listening to their books on their app, like all of them for the last year or so. And within the last week or two, I recently listened to a book called, I think it's called The Household and the War for the Cosmos. And that book is really good. I've really enjoyed everything I heard in that. I started listening to that book because my friend Anna, who I actually met through YouTube, I actually met her in real life at the grocery store. Actually, you guys don't need all this information, but whatever. I met her there. We've become good friends. And she recommended this podcast called Bright Hearth. And that couple they're somehow connected to the Wilsons. I think maybe they went to the college up there because there's their church. They have Canon Press, which is their publication situation. They have like a high school, Logos, and then they have a college called New St. Andrews College. And I think they maybe went there. I don't know. I can't figure it out. But I like that podcast, Bright Hearth. They mentioned The Household and the War for the Cosmos or something like that. That might not be the exact title. That's the gist. And so I wanted to listen to it because I hadn't heard that one yet from the Canon Plus app. Really good. There are a lot of really good books in the Canon Plus app, particularly like there's a lot of history lectures that I've been listening to on there, which I have found just invaluable, if that's the word. So fascinating. You guys know if you've been watching my channel for a while, I really enjoy history. I'm very into history. But I've realized since discovering the Canon Plus app that all of my exposure to history has been either through the media, so something like the History Channel or CNN, they've done a lot of like history series, or wherever, NBC, ABC, like people do different history series, or through school, which I stopped going to school in 6th grade and I became homeschooled. And then I went to a local community college when I was in high school and I took like every history class they offered, but it was like a state run community college. And what I'm realizing listening to these history lectures is, oh my gosh, I've never heard history taught from the perspective of a believer, or at least openly like a Christ follower, or where like the whole institution is like Christian, they follow Christ. Because I think a lot of these lectures are coming out of either New St. Andrews, or they're definitely some kind of like collegiate type lecture. I mean, some of these series are like 6 hours long, and it totally changes, like it's very interesting hearing about wars being fought and different figures throughout history when the people that are interpreting the letters maybe that people wrote each other or the historical documents are believers. It's just a totally different thing. And I'm really enjoying it. I've never had like collegiate level Christian oriented history lessons, like I've never had that. So that's been really fascinating as well. Oh, that's right. I just started listening to Rembrandt is in the Wind. That was recommended by Cambria Joy here on YouTube in one of her videos. That book was really great. I learned a lot more about like art than I knew prior to listening to that book, because they talk about different artists, obviously, and how faith is, I don't know how you would word that, like not how faith interacts with art, but how faith can lead our art, and how beauty is important and expression is important and why it's important. And it was just a really great book. So that was really good too. I also got done re-listening to a couple of books from Sally. What is her? You totally know who she is. She's like the homemaker lady. That's right. Sally Clarkson. So that was really great too. Sally Clarkson is so good. And she's written quite a few books. Like I got onto her books from the Life-Giving Household, or whatever it's called, the Life-Giving Home. That book is great. I've listened to it maybe twice. But she has other books as well that are really great. And I just really appreciate her perspective, not only as an older woman, but obviously as a believer and as an artist. That's something else I find really interesting about Sally and her whole family, is they're very like arts focused, very English focused, like in terms of like literature and stuff. And so the way that she describes running a home with her children and homeschooling is just fascinating. And I just really appreciate it. She helps to give me like ideas and a vision for my future. And she's another example of like, I don't really know of any Christian mothers that, talk about their whole mothering experience, that homeschooled their kids, that are super artsy focused while also being believers. Like I just felt like growing up, the people that I knew that were super like pumped on their faith and serving the Lord were not into the arts, which is once again also something I really appreciate about what the Wilsons are doing. Like I hate having to put this out here because it feels annoying and it feels like any thinking adult knows this, but I also always am like, I gotta say, it's not like I agree with everything he says. Really, is there anyone I agree with everything that they say or everything that they walk out or believe in? No. But I appreciate it. I'm like a pretty big pro at eating the fish and spitting out the bones. So I like listening to lots of different things. But yeah, and then the last book, I could keep going because I'm realizing as I looked on my list, I have a lot of things I've been like listening to or yeah, that's the end of the sentence, listening to. It's called Marmee and Louisa, The Untold Story of Louisa May Alcott or something like that, or her mom. Basically, the point is that I started reading this book because I rewatched Little Women, the 1990 whatever version, which is my favorite at this point, although I'm totally going to rewatch the new one again because I think I was a little shut down to the new Little Woman when it first came out because I love the 90s one so deeply. But as I've been seeing like clips from the newer one on the internet, I'm like, I think I need to give it another chance. Anyways, I love I think it's such a well told story and the movie is so well done. So I wanted to listen to this book because apparently when people talk about Louisa May Alcott, there's a lot of emphasis put on her father. But the point of this author was like, actually, her mom had a really huge impact on her. And so let's tell you about her mom. It was kind of just a biography of her whole life because it really covered her whole family, but it was very good. It's fascinating. And I knew this, but her and her mom were definitely like left-leaning, progressivists, if that's the word, in their time, like during their time. Obviously, everyone in the past is considered more conservative for the most part. It seems like everything's gone farther to the left. Not really, but yes. But it was fascinating, eye-opening for many reasons, interesting to go into her life in that way. And yeah. Okay, so someone else asked me, due to your knee injury, has your weight fluctuated? So this is kind of a 2-in-1 question. We're back to the weight question, and also my knee, which I'm like sitting here trying so hard to like make it comfortable. So I guess, you know what? I will talk about my knee right now. This is the perfect time because I haven't addressed it yet. And all I said on the internet was just that I hurt my knee, which I did. And I will tell you now how that went down. Now, I will say this first. I will answer your question first before I go off on this rant. No, my weight has not fluctuated with my knee. My muscles in my legs, especially my left leg, which is the leg that's injured, has definitely like kind of atrophied a bit. So that's a big part of what we're working on now in PT, but I haven't gained any weight. Like I said, my weight doesn't fluctuate too much. Like let me be real actually, and maybe it's because I'm too lax. I have gained a little bit of weight in the last few months. I stepped on the scale recently and I was like, oh, okay, I've gained a couple of pounds, but I think because I still fit in my clothes. And in my brain, I'm so on the other side of the spectrum now of like, I just try not to obsess about it. And I try to just think about balance. Sometimes, I guess like I just did, I'll just be like, oh no, my weight didn't fluctuate. And then I slow down and I'm like, well, I guess I have gained a couple of pounds, but it's very minor and I don't worry about it. Like I said, I think people normally fluctuate anyways, like especially women because of our cycle. I think a fluctuating weight is very normal to a degree and healthy depending on, what that looks like for you throughout the month. So, okay, my knee. I'm going to tell you the short version of what happened. And it's kind of funny, although not funny because nothing about this is funny, but this is funny, what I'm about to tell you. So I was messaging with Kate or Mrs. Midwest here on the internet, and she was asking me how I hurt myself. And I was like, Kate, get ready for it. And I told her, and her literal response was, oh my gosh, you poor thing. You were just being you and you got hurt. And I was like, that's exactly it. I was just being me. So you'll understand in a second. Basically, it's so embarrassing too, because my mom was even like, what the heck? Like, can't you just go out your back door? Like, why'd you have to do that? I'm like, I don't know, Mom. So basically, every morning when Dan and I wake up, and we go into the bathroom to pee or whatever, there's a window above our shower in our bathtub, like a long, skinny window. And from that window, you can see the mountains that we live next to. And I've never lived next to mountains. And one thing that's fun about living next to a mountain is that every day the mountain has its own weather system. And it changes every day. And it's actually kind of a trip because where we live at the base of these mountains, it's different than the rest of town, like the weather. Like you can be going out to the grocery store and then come back and it's like, oh my gosh, it's different weather where we live. Even though we're in town as well, it's just like the mountain has its own weather system. Anyways, so every day I like peeking out and seeing what happened because sometimes it's like a literal movie. You went to sleep and you woke up and suddenly everything's white. And from that bathroom window, you can see it all. You can see the mountain. So it's fun to look out. Or sometimes like the fog is so thick here that you can't even see across the street. Or sometimes it's like the fog is rolling through the mountains and it looks so dramatic and beautiful. Or sometimes everything's melted away overnight and you're like, what? There was snow last night and now it's clear. You get my gist or my drift. So point being, woke up, climbed into the window, which is not that big of a deal. We've done it almost every day since we've lived here. It's just like a step up onto the ledge in the bathroom when we look out the window. And I was like, Dan, you got to come see this, which the funny part is I don't even remember what the weather was like that morning, but whatever it looked like, I felt like I had to call Dan. So Dan came into the room, climbs up in the window. We're like, wow, cool, admiring it. And then he steps down and then oh my God, I'm already getting like a nauseous feeling in my stomach because if you've never dislocated a joint, it's like the grossest feeling in the world. And I had dislocated my knee many times in the past. So I already knew it was the grossest feeling in the world, but I've never had it get stuck. So, okay, finish the thought. So I stepped back on my right foot and then stepped on my left, and my left got wobbly and I felt my knee dislocate like it has many times in the past. And I was like, oh no, like instantly I'm like, oh no. And it goes out and in and then out and it stayed out. Now, I had a dream the other night, and I don't know if this is a real memory, like I'm remembering it now, or if this is just me making it up because I'm just like, it was so traumatizing and thinking back, I'm like really grossed out by it. But in my dream, I heard a snap. So that's kind of a separate thing. I actually have not had a knee scan yet because I've been avoiding it. I mean, we don't need to go off on that rant right now. We'll find out soon. I'm actually going back to the orthopedic doctor here in a couple of weeks after I've been in PT for a minute. And if I'm not where they'd like me to be, we will be scanning then. Anyways, I just say that because people might be like, so is it torn? We don't know yet. I did not think so in the beginning. Over the last few days, I've kind of thought it is, but we'll see. Anyways, I didn't finish the story. It popped out. It stayed out. I fell and hit the ground screaming. I want to say crying, but that's not even true. I actually never cried until later, which we'll get to that. So I'm screaming. Dan is freaking out because I had sweats on, and you can see that my kneecap is completely dislocated to the side. Like, it looks super gross and wonky, just like when you see videos of people breaking a bone or whatever, and you're just like, that doesn't look right. That's what my knee looked like. Not right, because it was off to the side of my leg. So I'm screaming. I wouldn't let him touch me because I was in such shock, guys. It was like if you're in the car. Have you ever turned on the car and someone had accidentally turned the volume all the way up, so it's like, bah, 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 and you can't hear, and all of a sudden you're like blinded by noise. You're like, whoa. That's what this felt like. I was blinded by the pain and the shock of it. I haven't dislocated my knee, to those of you who don't know, in over 13 years. So I had a knee surgery 13 years ago to fix this problem because my knee would dislocate. It's never stayed out like it did this time. Every time it dislocated, it just went out and it went back in, and it still came with healing. Like, I had to still heal from that. But this time, like I said, my surgery held up all 13 years. I never dislocated. I had many times where I would say, oh, it almost dislocated, but it never did. And then this time was approximately 20 times worse than any of my other dislocations. Because yeah, it went out and it stayed out. And Dan like ran to my parents' house to get them because he didn't know what to do because I wouldn't let him touch me. I was just freaking out. And there's a whole thing around that too. Like, he couldn't find my parents at first because he was freaking out and whatever. And then he found them, and they all ended up coming over, my brother, and thank God. Okay. So my sister just got married. You guys will be seeing footage of that soon if that video is not already up. I'm not putting up the whole wedding video, but I filmed like a productive week in my life. And one of those things was that my sister got married. So I'm going to include some footage. But luckily, my sister and her husband were still in town at the point. They've actually left. They're actually not in town now. They're back in LA working on stuff, and that's where they're living for the time being. But they were here, and thank God, because I couldn't move. So my brother, Casey, my sister, her husband, my dad, my mom, they all came over. I'm like screaming bloody murder. Poor sweet Logan. Dan like put him on the couch and was like, just stay here. And my mom said that when she came in, Logan was like sitting in the corner, like, he's like, Mama got really hurt. Mama hurt her knee. And she said he was like not happy, like came over, and he's like, no, go to Mama. Like, didn't want to be touched type of thing. So, I mean, he's fine now. I'm being a little dramatic because this kid is, you know, he got over it quickly and he's fine. But it was hard for him too, because I'm like screaming. And I know that sounds dramatic. I'm dramatic when it comes to pain. See my birth video for details. And there was a lot edited out of that too. So yeah, I'm screaming. Anyways, it took 5 people to lift me to the car because finally they're like, you gotta go to the hospital. They're gonna have to give you some kind of painkiller and pop it back in place, because I wouldn't let them touch me. I'm like, okay. So they all like gathered around me. Sorry, I'm like squeezing my leg right now. Oh my gosh. So they all gathered around me and picked me up in a way that I could handle. I mean, I was still writhing in pain, but they carried me from the bathroom out to the car. And as they were carrying me out, my sister, who I'm still not sure whether she did this on purpose or not, I kind of think she did. I'm not sure, but she kind of like wiggled a little bit, her holding. And I was like getting mad at them at one point, like, stop, you got to lift it higher. You got to lift it higher. This really hurts. But then she moved a certain way where all of a sudden my kneecap just goes bloop and just went right back into place. Kind of like, oh, nothing to see here, folks. Like it didn't even, I thought it would be like snap. No, it just like, just went right back in. It was the biggest relief of my life. This was more painful than giving birth for me. It was shorter, but it was more painful. And right when the kneecap went back in and I could finally breathe, it's like, that's when my body let its guard down. And that's when I started sobbing, like the tears and I just kept saying, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Because I had never experienced that kind of pain before. So like I said, sounds dramatic, but I am dramatic. Although at the same time, someone messaged me a couple days later, and their husband, who like works on an oil rig, dislocated his knee like days after mine. And she said the same thing, that he was like screaming, and she's like, stop screaming. He's like, I can't. And they had to like get the kids out, you know? So that made me feel a little less dramatic, but if you're watching, I'm really hoping your husband is doing okay, because he definitely pulled it together a lot quicker than me and like knee braced up and went back to work. I'm here 4.5 weeks later, and I'm still not doing too hot. Like, I'm kind of still a mess. I'm back here filming because I miss you guys / this is my job, but I'm literally like still hobbling. I'm having a really hard time still. I've just started riding in a car in this last week to go to physical therapy, but this is difficult. Like, sitting here, my knee is I'm still not fully able to bend. I can't really put weight on it, or it completely buckles out from under me. And yeah, so I'm in physical therapy right now. I'm hoping that I heal and everything turns out to be much better than expected. I hope I heal fast. I'm still decently swollen as of right now. And if my knee gets any sudden movement, it feels like it's going to dislocate again, which I don't think that means it will. I think that's just the feeling as you recover, because I'm flashing back to all those years of recovering from other knee injuries. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was the whole joke between Dan and I, like always feeling like my knee was going to dislocate. So I would imagine, since this time was way worse, it's probably going to feel like that for a minute. And like I said, I will be finding out soonish in life if anything is torn. We are very confident I don't have any muscle tears. It's my ligaments. That's really what they're kind of concerned about. And both my PT and my orthopedic doctor have vocalized that to me, that that's what they're kind of nervous about. So we'll see what happens, and how my cartilage is doing, and if and when I need a scan in the next couple weeks. But yeah, that's the gist of what's going on with my knee. It sucks. And definitely as time has gone on, like the longer that this injury has lasted, I've had a couple of emotional moments. You guys know I big time have baby fever. And actually, that's something I should mention. My knee I was totally ovulating when I dislocated my knee. I'm throwing that out there because according to the internet, the majority of female knee injuries take place when women are ovulating. Tell me that that's not crazy. It totally makes sense, because when you are ovulating, you have a big your body's supposed to anyway shoot up in progesterone, and progesterone is a very like loosey-goosey, like makes your body relaxed type of hormone. So kind of wild that that's the case. But yeah, that was the case. I was ovulating, and I already, like, if you guys follow me on Instagram, last month I fell on the ice like a week before my sister's wedding. I was like, oh no, like, am I going to be super messed up? I'm supposed to be in her wedding. I'm supposed to film her wedding. And I totally ended up being fine after a couple of days. Thank the Lord, because that was terrifying and super painful. But I ended up being fine. But that literally pushed my ovulation back by a week, like my spill on the ice. So when I fell with my knee, I was ovulating from my ovulation being pushed back. And then obviously my period came late because of that, because everything got pushed back. But it's weird, because I'm almost thinking my body's doing like the same thing this month. Like, it's going to be pushing back my period. That's kind of TMI, but not really, because we're going to talk about, a few of you asked about baby number 3. Baby number 2, but baby number 3. So we'll kind of segue into that. But yeah, the body's fascinating. Like, when it's under duress, I said that to Dan. I'm like, I was supposed to ovulate yesterday. I think I'm going to have another month of my body going much longer than normal because of everything that's going on, I guess. So I got this question a few times from people, but I'll read this comment. This is from Alyssa. And she said, sorry if it's too personal, but what about your trying to conceive journey? I just miscarried 2, which I'm very, very sorry for your loss. And she said, and I'm scared to try again. And like I said, there were different versions of this. But yeah, I mean, basically, guys, this knee injury has definitely pushed back trying to conceive. I have major baby fever, and literally I feel like everybody I know is pregnant. Not literally. And that's actually kind of insensitive to say, because that's definitely not the case. But I just have baby fever, and I'm just really working on leaving it up to the Lord. I've also had some like mental clarity, revelation type things happen this week, where I've just kind of realized, like, dude, yes, I'm getting older, but I've also realized, like, I'm not actually that old. And in theory, I have like 10 years left in my fertility, which that's not a reason to push it off. That's more of a reason to stay calm in the midst of this, because I did have a couple moments where it's like, dude, I can't even baby dance right now. I'm still so messed up. And I just thought, like, how is this, like, how am I going to keep pushing it back? But I had kind of a lot of things unfold that made me realize, like, whoa, first off, God's plan, God's timing, chill out. Second off, just because you're getting older doesn't mean you're actually old. And I've watched enough fertility, I've talked to and watched enough fertility doctors or experts to realize that age is only one factor. The other factors are just as important, if not more, depending on the situation. So the answer is, I don't know. In my mind, we will be trying again probably in the spring. I think I need a couple of months, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, God's plan, like I said, to heal. Also, you guys know if you've been watching me for a long time, I use the Phoenix waveform machine on my injuries, and I'm using it right now to heal. And you cannot use that when you're pregnant. And so that option for like physical therapy from that device goes completely out the window if and when I'm pregnant. And so both Dan and I are like, dude, we need to wait. We need to get my knee healed. The thing is, I dislocated. Once you're pregnant, and you guys know, some of you might be like, Nikki, because what's weird about this whole situation is these feelings essentially are what made me not want to have a biological child in the first place. And were a big part of my fear in getting pregnant is like my joints and how they could hold up. And it is true that when you're pregnant, you not only have the progesterone, but you have relaxin, which is a hormone that literally causes your joints and your body to get like relaxed so that you can stretch and grow a baby. And all of this just made me feel really like, wait, now I'm like smack dab right there again with all of my fears that I had in the first place in regards to having a baby. And so it's just kind of weird to be facing that again, in such like an acute way too. Like now I'm at the place where it's not generalized pain. It's like I have an acute injury. And what's weird about all of this, I don't even know what to make of this. And maybe I said this on my channel. Maybe I didn't. I think I did though. I told Dan a few months ago, I was like, man, I don't even identify with the label chronic pain anymore. Like, I just feel like I've been getting better. And it's not like it's hindering my life in some dramatic way, especially because I'm not an athlete anymore. And so it's really weird to like go from that and then have this happen. It's like, oh man. And this is, this is my old injury, my old knee problems. And the thing is, once you dislocate, you're very likely to dislocate again, which in Dan's words is why I dislocated in the first place, because I've dislocated in the past. But it was just so long ago. I'd gotten so much better. And yeah, it's just surprising. So the good thing is, well, I mean, it's all good. It could all be much worse, right? We all know that. It's this weird feeling of like me trying to tell you guys and be open and honest and sharing while simultaneously realizing that people have it way worse in life and that I have been getting much better. Like the fact that I can even sit here on the couch and film, I couldn't sit for a while. I mean, I guess I could have kept my legs straight. Now I can have it kind of bent. But it just could have been much worse is the point. And I feel like there was something else I was going to say with that. Now it's going out of my head. Oh, that's the point. My physical therapist made a really good point / gave a really good idea the other day when I was in with her. And she basically said, when you get pregnant, if and when, God willing, I get pregnant, she's like, I think that it would probably be smart to wear a knee brace the entire time, like a low profile, slim knee brace because of, everything that we just said, how loosey-goosey you get when you're pregnant, and kind of like prophylactic or whatever, like preventative to help my knee not dislocate. And then she said also, even after I give birth, she's like, I would say you'd need to wear the brace for a couple of months after. And so that was good to hear because there was kind of this feeling of like, am I just not going to be able to have another baby now? Because this is terrifying. Like, how am I going to get pregnant and handle this? And she was basically just approaching it from the angle of like, we deal with it. And I think the way we deal with it is a knee brace. Like, that's okay. And I'm thinking like, that is okay. Because some people have to wear fake limbs. Like, it's okay if I just have to wear a knee brace. So yeah, it will get a little bit interesting or tricky if it turns out that I'm supposed to be having surgery. I don't know what that would mean at that point. If there's any way, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not even going to talk about that because I don't know what I'm going to do if we find out that my ligament's torn and they really feel like I need surgery, because it doesn't seem like there's any good time to have surgery. So it's like, I just know that I really I'm feeling like myself getting choked up. I'm not going to cry. I really have baby fever. I really want another baby. I'd really like Logan to have a sibling. He keeps saying he wants a brother. I keep telling him to take that up with God. So we will see what happens. But that's where I'm at in my trying to conceive journey. I guess another thought I'll give you around the trying to conceive thing is 2 cycles ago, I actually started using ovulation strips, which is something that I was very hesitant to do. It feels a little too sciencey. I was like, I don't want to stress. Dan especially at first was also like, what? Like, this is too sciencey. But I had multiple close girlfriends that were like, either they couldn't get pregnant until they used ovulation strips, which is wild, or they just told me like it's really valuable. And so I said to Dana, the first month was hard. I stressed out a lot the first month. And there were multiple times where he was like, don't test. Like, this is too stressful for you. Let's just make a baby the old fashioned way. And I was like, yes, but I really think I just need to calm down, which is the case now, especially once I got through that first month. I was concerned I wasn't even ovulating. So once I finally got that positive ovulation, I was like, okay, good, I am. That was kind of just what I was concerned about. But I told him, like, I just want data. Like, probably the odds are in my favor because I've already had a baby. And I mean, now at this point, we know I ovulate regularly. My cycle is regular. I probably will be able to, God willing, just get pregnant without any help. But I'm 3 years older now than I was when he was born. So 4 years older than when I conceived with him, or I became pregnant with him, fell pregnant, whatever word you want to use. I'm 4 years older now. So life changes a lot. And I just thought, I don't want to not have this data if I do need help at some point, like a doctor's help for some reason, whatever, I don't explain, an unforeseen reason. I want to be able to come in with data that we can look at versus like, okay, now it's time to start tracking things and see what's up. It's like, I just want to know now. It's like getting ahead of the game. And if I just get pregnant, then whatever, great. But if I don't, and it's a few months, like, I don't know how long I'm willing to wait without getting help. So technically we tried 2 months, kind of. I'd really say it was 1 month of giving it like a good old fashioned college try. 2 months, if you count the first month as being like, well, we're having unprotected baby dance time. But then I got injured, obviously. So now I'm just tracking my ovulation using the ovulation strips, and I've started testing basal body temps. I'm not doing it the greatest. I really need to do it right in the morning, but I have just been checking my temperature in general every day and throughout the day. And that's been fascinating too. I started that last month before my cycle, and the temps went exactly the way that they said it would. Like, I raised before my period and then I dropped right when I got my period. So it's fascinating to continue to learn more about these ways to track. And yeah, I've actually recently, as well as tracking my temp, I've started checking my pulse, like with my temperature. So that's been very interesting as well. Just trying to gather information so that when we start trying again post knee injury, if I don't get pregnant, I've at least got data, or I don't get pregnant in those first few months, I've got data to bring to a specialist. And yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself because I don't, whatever, you get the gist. I don't even need to say any more about that, but yeah. Okay. So my friend Nikki asked, how long did it take to find community in your new town? I would say, I started meeting people pretty much right when we moved here, like within the following 2 to 3 months. It was hard in the beginning, not only because I was coming off of the trauma of going through like a move, public cancellation, losing our dog, obviously. It was really, really hard. You guys know I cried for like the first 3 months of living here. So there was a whole lot of just getting to know the town in the beginning. But I would say within the last 6 months, I feel like very established in my community. Do I feel totally settled? No, but also it would make sense that, of course, it's only going to get better. And so within the last 6 months, I've reached this other stage of like feeling so like, I don't know, plugged in. And it's kind of just been one layer at a time. I went from having like individual friends and meeting up with those people to now I have like a legitimate community. It's kind of a weird situation that I'm in. I'm in like this it started off as like a group chat. No, it started off as a homeschooling group. A girl that I had met, and this is what I mean about one-off relationships, that I had met online because she saw me through another friend that I had made here in town. And she saw one of my posts and she was like, hey, we're on the same page with like worldview type stuff. And so she started following me. We became connected. And she was running a homeschooling group. I literally messaged her and was like, can I join your homeschooling group? I know my kid's only 2 at the time. I was like, but I know we're going to homeschool, which someone asked that question, like, do you plan to homeschool? And then she was saying, like, if you do ACE is the best Christian program. Good to know. But yes, we do plan on homeschooling. And so she let me join this homeschooling adventure group. And then through that, I got plugged into like a literal freedom group. Like, it's a group chat where moms who are freedom oriented, specifically with medical freedom, but with lots of things, I'm in like a group chat, but then they have like meetups, like at restaurants and like political nights. And through that group, I joined something called Victory Mamas, where everybody teaches each other different skills. So if you watch all my day in my life videos, you've seen that I went to like a canning class. I went to, what was the other class? I know I've been to 2. Oh, like a floral arrangement class. So that it's kind of just like one thing has led to the next thing. And so I started feeling that way around 6 months ago, which puts me at, I'd say it took a little bit over a year. Speaking of which, one of the moms in the freedom group actually asked me when I put this out, do you think Bigfoot is real? And I said to her, that's a very Idaho question of you to ask me. I've never heard any talks about Bigfoot until moving to North Idaho. It's like a thing. Like, I've had way too many dead serious conversations with people about Bigfoot. And I have zero opinion on that. Like, I don't get it. I'm not really interested in it. Like, when friends talk to me about it, I'm like, cool. Like, it's interesting hearing them talk about it, but I don't get it. And it still always kind of feels like it's a joke. So there's that. Oh, someone asked how the chickens are doing. Well, they actually asked, did you get chickens? Yes, we did. And then they asked, how are they? And the answer is they're doing well. They're growing insanely fast. They went from like this big to like huge chickens, and they're not even 3 months yet. It's crazy. So they're currently living in the garage in like a pen that Dan made for them, but they'll be moving outside to the actual chicken coop. If you guys watch all my day in my life videos, you saw him building that. We bought part of it off Facebook Marketplace and then he customized it. They'll be moving out there probably within the next month or 2. And we've just started feeding them scraps along with their food. So that's kind of the chicken update. I am so excited to have them. And yeah. Okay, someone asked, have you been doing much singing? I always find way old songs and they're still so good. First off, thank you. I feel that way about all my old songs. And it's not really me so much. I mean, I am proud of my work, don't get me wrong, but it's mostly like the people that I worked with, like, really created quality tracks that have stood the test of time, at least within these last few years, where like every time I hear them, I'm like, dang, dude, that's so good. So that's what she's talking about. But I have not been singing much lately. Like, I do, and I have many plans. And actually, I was planning on a specific song that I wanted to record and release in January that I just didn't get to yet because of everything that happened. But I'm in the process right now of trying to figure out how to get my piano hooked up to my computer so that I can start recording my own tracks. Obviously, my mic hooks up to my computer, and it's an amazing mic. I use it for voiceovers, but I got it primarily for singing because when I recorded my mashup song with Landon Austin in Nashville, I recorded that song on this mic, but it was his mic. And I was like, what? My voice sounds amazing on this. And so that's the mic we actually ended up investing in. But yeah, there's this Phil Wickham song. I'm always like, do I say it? Do I spoil it? There's 2 songs I really want to cover. One of them, I've actually just decided real time, I'm not going to spoil. I really want to record that song, and I'm not sure how it's going to go, but it's actually the song that got me through my miscarriage. Not got me through it, but it was like my miscarriage song when I miscarried. So that song, which I'm not going to say right now. And then the other song is a Phil Wickham song called Psalm 23. And I didn't even think he had released it, but he may have. I saw a clip on his Instagram and I instantly was like, this is the song I have to record, or a song I have to record. And it's basically Psalm 23, like, to music. I don't know if you guys have heard it. Now I like want to sing it. The Lord is my shepherd, there's nothing I need. You lead me to the safest places. You lead me to the safest places. To walk by the meadow and down by the stream. You meet me in the quiet places. You meet me in the quiet places. I'm going to stop there. I don't even know if I'm going to keep that in, but that's what the song is. I was kind of giggling halfway through too, because I think I messed up those lyrics. But the song is so beautiful and moving to me, and I really love it when people either include bits of scripture in song or just straight up sing scripture. I'm a big fan. And the other song that I want to cover, even though I didn't tell it to you, is also a faith-focused song. So we'll see, but I look forward to singing and recording more. But things get pushed to the side, man. Dan and I were just talking about that. Like, I can't believe it. We've been here for a year and a half, and how far we still are from being like set up and settled. Like dude, there's so many basic things that I feel like are basic that we still need around our home, and things that like just aren't back to normal for us. You know, one of those things, for example, is Dan and his simulator. Dude, Dan used to race NASCAR, for those of you that don't know. Like, Dan loves racing. He loves driving, and his simulator was literally like his favorite thing. He would call it his favorite hobby. It is a hobby, but it's also how he trained to legitimately race in NASCAR. And since we've moved here, it's been completely stored away. So he actually started this last week on construction in the garage, building what will be like our office. Yeah, I guess it would be an office. That's what we'll call it. He's working on our office. I was going to say / playroom, because it's all kind of play and fun too. But he started building that, and that is where he's finally going to be able to set up his simulator, and then we're going to be moving all my stuff out there too. So I can store all my camera equipment and have my piano and my desk and a quiet place to edit and do voiceovers and all of that. And so I just really look forward to continuing to be able to continue to set up our life and do the things and create the things that we love to create. Someone asked me in here also if Idaho is our forever home. And I don't know. We've moved so many times. I never know if anywhere is going to be my forever home, but I will tell you this. I don't want to move anytime soon, because I can't believe that we're a year and a half in and like our life still doesn't feel back to normal. Like, all the things that we love aren't completely set back up yet. And it's weird because so many things were set up in Nashville. And it took about the same amount of time, honestly, to get comfortable in Nashville, a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And then we were really settled for like a year and a half. And then obviously we left under really like crazy circumstances. Obviously people were like threatening our lives, and we had to get like the police involved. And it was a crazy move. We lost a lot of stuff in the move because there was some drama with our moving company and miscommunication. And so everything was just like crazy, and I look forward to continuing to set up. And I imagine that we will be I don't think this home is going to be our forever home. If God gives us a long life, I can pretty confidently say this won't be our forever home, but this might be our forever town. But I don't even know about that. I don't know. But I definitely foresee us here for quite a few years would be my guesstimate, because this home, if God gives us more babies, this home is really perfect for having young kids in, and being pregnant in, because it's a one story. I don't have to go up and down any stairs. Like, I don't have to move very far to like get things. Like, even with my knee injury, that's part of like, it was really great it has been really great being in a tiny house with such a severe knee injury, because I'm still able to do things to a certain extent. I just have to like hobble over with my crutches or whatever. I've been able to cook, as you guys saw in my What I Eat in a Week video, although it's been really nice because some people have been bringing me meals. And it's really nice when I don't have to cook, because by the end of the day, my knee is so exhausted, I don't really want to cook. So that's been nice on a separate note. Okay, someone asked, what's your favorite thing currently about Logan's age, like his current age? And that has got to be his language. Dude, my kid, you guys know this, from the beginning, I think he's been like a pretty advanced talker. He talked really early and he uses very big words. His vocabulary is very, very wide and it's only getting funnier. Like his words are getting clearer. The sentences he puts together are getting funnier. And I just love it. I love him so much. And I love his little cuddles too. I mean, like he's a compact, tiny human. And when he hugs into me, like it's just the best. When he woke up this morning, because typically what happens, Logan goes to sleep in his room. And what used to happen is in the middle of the night, he would wake up and he'd cry for us. And then we'd bring him into our room. Now, guys, this is so weird. He just had his 3rd birthday. Okay. He suddenly, literally the day before he turned 3, just decided to be potty trained. So he's potty trained now. It's the craziest thing. He just goes to the bathroom on the toilet. And that's exactly what all the homeschool moms in my group told me. They're like, because he was not wanting to go to the bathroom on the toilet. And they were like, don't force it. He'll do it when he's ready. And literally he just decided. So now he goes to the bathroom in the toilet. And also the other thing that he started doing at the same time, who is that? Someone pulled in front of my house. Like, what are you doing here? He just like walks into our room now in the middle of the night. So like when he wakes up and instead of crying, he just like comes right into the room and crawls into bed. And sometimes we're not even waking up. We just wake up in the morning or to go pee or something. And we're like, when did you get here? It's the cutest thing. And this morning when we woke up, Dan was gone at Bible study and he rolls over and he just looks at me and he smiles and he goes, I love you, Mama. And I was like, my heart just exploded and melted into a billion pieces in a puddle all at the same time. It just, I love him so much. And I know I've said this a million times and this is kind of off topic, but not really. I think back sometimes on my life before and what I thought about having children. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't think that people or the media focuses enough on how amazing it is to have a baby. Now, for some people, or a kid, that's a good way to put it. For some people, it may be the opposite for them. They may feel like all they've ever heard is how great having a baby is. And then they have a baby and they're like, whoa, this is way harder than I thought. Nobody talked about this. For me, I felt like it was the opposite. I felt like all I was aware of really was how difficult it was going to be to have a child, the hardships, the crying, the constant taking care of them, the not being able to go do things on a whim, the putting their needs first before you, like which actually thinking back, it's really funny because I'm realizing that's the same way that I felt about marriage. I mean, not really different, a parent and a wife, being a wife and a parent are two different things. But I remember when friends would kind of paint marriage as like, I don't even know how to explain this. Like it's all going to be rainbows and butterflies and sunshine and whatever. I just remember always thinking like, marriage is really hard, right? Like it's still going to be hard. Like there's going to be fights and there's going to be this. I felt like I had a very realistic view on marriage, almost leaning to the side of like with a negative tint, but like very realistic. I was terrified to get married. I never thought I'd be getting married that young. I thought I'm going to move to New York, get married when I'm like 30 something, and just life happened and I fell in love and I was very scared to get married. But that's the best way I would put it. I feel like I had a realistic view of marriage with a little bit of a Debbie Downer spin. And that's how it was for me with kids or a kid. I only have one kid. Oh, that's so weird. Every time I say that, then I think about the miscarriage, but separate topic. I saw having kids as only those things that I said, like the responsibilities, the hardships, the this, the that. I had no idea how soul altering and life beautifying having a child would be. And it makes me sad that there's not, from my perspective, more focus on that, more focus on how amazing having a child is, and how I think that there's a lot of women nowadays in this like modern culture that may be willing to give up having children because they don't know. And you can't know until you have a kid, but I just don't think there's enough focus on that. I think there's too much focus on, what is it, like mommy wine culture and how hard raising kids is and how annoying they are and all of this stuff. And I've just found myself for the last 3 years being like, but what about the rest? Like, this is like the best gift I've ever been given in my life, basically, is Loki. So yeah, I didn't need to go on that rant, but I did. Okay, how many children are you hoping for on that note? Honestly, I'm open. I have recently come to the idea of accepting like, oh, would I like 5 children? Like I've started thinking about that. I'm like, do I want 5 kids? Like I listen to so many of these, like I jokingly referred to them as uptight Christians, that I'm like being brainwashed into being like, maybe I want this huge family. I am 35, I realize that. But I've also realized that lots of people like have multiple, like they have babies back to back to back. So if that's what God has for us, I could go into a season of like birthing a lot of babies. But I'm also open and have accepted the idea that like I'm blessed to have one. And if Logie is it for our family and who God has for us, then that's what that is. If one more child is what we get, then that's great. And that's what that is. But I have definitely switched my thought process in the last couple of years to think like, I think I want like multiple children, like lots of kids. So God knows the desires of my heart. He knows what's best for me, for us, for our children, for our family. And so I'm really just trying to trust him and not make a plan. Kind of like with my home birth. That's kind of a separate note, but not really. I knew I wanted to home birth. That's what I wanted. But I was also open to like, hey, we just got to get this baby out of me. Like whatever God has for us is what he has. This is what I think is the best decision. This is what I'd like. This is how I want it to happen. But what is that saying? Like you make your plans and God laughs. So like I said, in my head, I'm like, could we have like 3 to 5 kids? Maybe. That's kind of what sounds awesome right now, but we will see. One child at a time. That's always been Dan's saying. One child at a time. Okay. Someone said on a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you that your religious views are correct? I mean, 1 being like very, very unsure, 10 being like totally positive. I don't really know how to answer that. I don't really know how to answer that because it almost feels like I've been in this pursuit for the last few years of marrying my heart and my mind around my faith. Meaning like my feelings are that there is a creator, that God created everything. And I feel like I feel the Lord's presence all the time, like just throughout the day, throughout the week. But then there's obviously like the logical, like the actual information around my faith, like who Jesus is and was, and the Bible, and all of the like history surrounding that. And I don't know, is it annoying to say a 5? like that I'm like confident, but like, I don't know. And I always feel this way, this feeling of like, guess we'll all see when we die, huh? You know, and like I make decisions for myself, like what I think I believe, but I don't really know. And it kind of always makes me feel weird because, you know, I see some people with different faiths and they're like, I know. And they're like, nobody can tell me that I don't know. And I'm like, wow, like, I kind of wish I had that confidence of just being like, I know, like I know, like I know. But then at the same time, it kind of feels a little bit crazy. I'm not going to lie, because none of us have met God in the flesh. Like I think how do I word this? I think we're meeting God all the time. I think God is everywhere all around us, and he's revealed himself in nature and through creation and in our children and in the blessings that he gives to us in our day-to-day life. Like I think he reveals himself in lots of ways, but he's not like sitting next to me, like in the flesh where I can be like, hey guys, meet God. So a lot of it just feels like, guess we'll see when we get there. Now that doesn't feel like an excuse for me. In fact, it's the opposite in a lot of ways, to like stop learning. I want to keep learning. I want to have my logic married to my emotions. I have this never ending drive to like, it seems, to know God more, to be closer to him, to learn more information around just the Bible and scriptures. Logan and Dan just walked in the room. We're going to pause that question. He wants to come say hi to the video. Do you want to tell him how old you are now?
3.
You're 3. Did you have a good birthday? What did we do on your birthday?
Nothing.
Nothing? You didn't eat any ice cream cake?
I did.
You did? Was it good ice cream cake? I made it basically from scratch, just throwing that out there. Did you like, wait, one more thing. Did you like the burger and fries on your birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite gift you got?
The favorite gift is conductor.
Your conductor hat? You got a full-on like conductor hat, train whistle, new train set. Actually, though, I think I'm gonna get confused between Christmas and his birthday. They were right next to each other. Thanks for saying hi, Logan.
I want to say hi again.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi!
So yeah, that's kind of my answer. I personally, I mean, this is right. This is so annoying because I feel very libertarian in so many ways in this sense. And I don't think that that's a reason to not pursue truth or to not have conversations with people or even to not bring morality into the public square for that matter. But I don't know. Like, we'll see. The best I can do is keep learning, reading, praying, talking with people, and just see where God takes me. I don't know. I always get very uncomfortable with these questions because I feel like the good thing to do as a Christian is to be like, I'm so confident I know. But then I just sit here and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I feel the way that I feel. I know what I know, but like, we're going to find out when we die, I guess. I mean, especially even within the realm of like Christian faith, there are so many differences in belief and like what is important and what is not. I don't know. This was a lame answer, but you get my gist. So someone asked if I'm still selling Young Living, and the answer is, or the short answer is, yes, I am. I am not like pushing for it. I feel like, I definitely used essential oils more a couple of years ago, but I still use them regularly. And actually it was just in the last couple of weeks, I'm like, I need to start sharing my link again because I'm still using oils all the time. Like, Dan reached in the oven the other day and picked out a pan, like while it was hot, and his whole hand, he like grabbed the pan. He would have been so messed up, I'm assuming, had we not like smothered him in lavender. But that's like, for us, lavender, I don't think I will ever not have it in my medicine cabinet because I don't deal with burns anymore. Anytime I burn myself on something, I just slather it in lavender and it just completely like gets rid of it. It helps. And I know everyone is different. That's just our experience, but legitimately it's like a miracle worker for us. So I am. And I actually, it's funny. I came to that conclusion because I was like, you know what? I'm still using these products all the time. Not as many of them as I used to, but a lot of them, and very regularly, or like a handful. So I'm actually going to link down below as I'm saying this. I made a list on Young Living of my favorite Young Living products because I just knew, like, people ask me this kind of regularly, do you still use any of them? So I just went in and I made a list and added in all of the things that I still like and use. So if you want to check that out, I will have that linked down below. It's got maybe like 15 items in there that I'm still a big fan of. Some of them I'm obsessed with still, like Valor. Valor is like the best smelling essential oil blend on the planet, just saying. So yeah. Okay, someone asked me, this is potentially going to be my last question. I feel like I'm talking for a century. Someone asked, how do you decide what news, medical, scientific data source are reputable and or trustworthy? So this is kind of like a wide, there's a few answers to this question. I don't really know what trustworthy means. I guess to me what trustworthy means is, are they blatantly misinterpreting data? Are they saying something in a headline that when you read the article actually turns out to be like very misleading? Like, oh, they were willing to kind of stoop to that for the headline and that's not actually true. Where do they like cite their sources? For example, someone that I really have liked in the past, I haven't listened to him recently much at all, but I've listened to him in the past, is Del Bigtree. And the reason I would consider him reputable, besides the crazy research and in-depth nature of his program, is that when he's citing sources and he comes to the conclusions he comes to, his sources are frequently actually like large medical organizations or government agencies like the CDC, like the World Health Organization. So he's using their own data and research to come to the conclusions he's coming to. I would consider something reputable or not reputable if, for example, there's certain people that I may follow online that it's like, I know because when they've posted things, I've gone and fact checked it, done some Googling, done some deep diving, and it's like, oh, okay, they were telling the truth. And I've noticed that happens over and over with them. So then in my mind, they kind of become categorized as like, okay, they're reputable. They're not like trying to just get clickbait. They're not, lying or misconstruing a story that's come out. Whereas on the other hand, there have been other people that like, I still follow them because I find their stuff interesting, but I've noticed sometimes they're like hitting and missing. Like they'll say something and I'm like, oh snap. And then I'll go Google it and I'm like, that wasn't even true. Like they totally misinterpreted that. And while like their misinterpretation leads to a perspective that how do I word this? That I might be like, oh, like it proves my point or whatever, I will look it up and I'll be like, that's not even true. So like, I wish you hadn't said that. For example, those of you that I don't know if you guys have seen that movie that came out on Rumble a few months ago called Died Suddenly. It was like all the hot gossip there for a month. I don't mean to make light of it because if it's actually true, which I believe most of it is, it's really sad. But I was just doing that because it was like every group chat was like, did you see Died Suddenly? And so I don't know. I think it's still on Rumble if you haven't seen it. Point being, the main point of the documentary is to hit home the point that they believe that the COVID vax is causing blood clots, like severe blood clots. And so they do a lot of interviews with supposed coroners. And it was a really good movie or documentary in the sense that like it's very thorough. It really like hit the point home that like, hey, we think there's blood clot issues going on here, which I do. But I was disappointed afterwards. This is kind of a random example, but not. Maybe it's actually the perfect example. I did a little bit of Googling afterwards, and I found out that supposedly some of the clips that they showed to try to like hit the point home were not actually like recent clips. Like maybe they were from 5 to 10 years ago before the vaccine even came out. There were just a few things that I was like, oh man. So like I said, kind of a bad example because I don't even know who made that movie. So it's not like they're an unreputable source to me now. So actually, I don't even know why I transitioned onto this, but it's just, there is this idea of like, I like fact checking people. And I don't like it when people try to make a point by misconstruing things or presenting the wrong information, but like it aligns visually well and hits a point. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I fact check people and see if I come to the same conclusion as them. And particularly if one person has been fact checked by me multiple times and every time I'm like, oh, dang, they're right. In my mind, I tend to kind of lump them then in the category as like being reputable and someone that like when they share something, I tend to trust them. I've had a few times where I've shared content from someone and I will say to Dan, like, hey, I didn't fact check this yet, but this person does not tend to lie. So I just wanted to send this to you before I like do my fact checking. I'm not someone that's only into like government resources or like official whatever, because I am someone who thinks that anecdotal evidence is actually worth pursuing. Like I really dislike that doctors, especially on the internet, play it down as like, oh, it's just anecdotal. It's like, isn't this kind of part of science though? Is like gathering people's reactions to things, like anecdotal or not. It's really bizarre to me. Yeah, that was about to lead me off on a whole other rant about medical freedom and forcing people to do things and take, experimental injections when I'm not even going to go off on this rant. Whatever. Hold it together, Nikki. Okay, I'm just kidding. This is my last question. Because this girl asked like 3 different questions, so I didn't want to like not answer. And if I didn't answer any of you that also asked multiple questions, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best to like juggle through these questions on here. Feel free to ask in my next one because I feel like I should do one again soon because you guys seem to tend to like these. But this question says, do you have any tips on healthy living on a tight budget, like the most important things? She says, our financial reality has shifted dramatically, and I feel like now I have so much knowledge almost to a deficit. Everything is bad for you, and it's very hard to find anything that I can eat and not feel guilty about. I totally feel you. Here's my answer, and you might literally be sitting there rolling your eyes like, this wasn't even an answer, but this is my answer. Our finances shifted a lot moving here, a lot in terms of the cancellation. Like our business model was very much centered around sponsorships at that time. And so having that pull back because of the cancellation was dramatic. Then you factor into the fact that we moved across the US. Yes, we sold a house, but we turned around and bought another house. We also lost a lot of our things in the move. Like I mentioned, a lot of furniture, just a lot. So we had a very dramatic financial shift as well. I have kind of 2 thoughts around this. One thought is one thing that I did was I cut everything I could like else in my life. So you really go through and you go, okay, are there any subscriptions I'm on that I can cut? Is there anything that is like slipping past my brain, a few dollars here, a few dollars here, that we can really like cut, and really like lean it down? Because for me, I said to Dan the whole time, I'm like, I don't want I don't want to sacrifice my diet just because we're tighter on money. Like I would rather be tight on everything else, like no more spending on all of these other things or cutting it all back dramatically other than food. So yes, food is the most important to me. Now I have heard other people, other moms in this freedom group chat actually that I'm in, that they have other things in their healthy journey that are more important to them, like clothes, which I have not even gone down the clothing wormhole yet. I'm like scared to, not right now, not at this point in my life. But for me, it really is food. So it's what else can I sacrifice in my life? Do we need a second car? Like that might be a thing. For us, to get really specific, one discussion that we had, and it's actually what led us, ironically, to Christian Healthcare Ministries, which is our insurance, although it's not an insurance, is I told Dan, I'm like, if we got to cut things, I'd rather have like no health insurance. Because at that point it feels like a scam. Like, I know you're really broke and you can't buy good food, which is the basis of all health, but pay us your money every month for health insurance. It felt like buying into the biggest scam ever if I was going to eat crappy and then set aside all this money for health insurance. So I was prepared to just completely get rid of all health insurance. I'm like, I don't care. It's a gamble. What's the worst that's going to happen? Like, I could go off on a whole other thing, but I don't want to get myself in trouble on the internet. I will say this though, hospitals tend to negotiate with patients who don't have insurance or have to pay a cash price for something. Just throwing that out there. Ultimately though, what we decided was rather than going completely no insurance, we ended up finding another type of insurance alternative, which, like I mentioned in previous videos, is Christian Healthcare Ministries. We were with another Christian health sharing program that was literally double the cost every month and literally had it was a 5 times higher amount to hit the deductible. They don't call it a deductible. They call it personal responsibility amount. So just a completely different financial structure. And then, we didn't want to not have insurance, but that cut out a lot and saved us a lot of money making the switch over to CHM. So really my point in all of this though is, what are your priorities? What can you cut? And my second thought around this is, if you're sitting there, you're like, I've already cut everything. Like, you don't understand. We're really broke. I will say this. I have come to the personal belief that there is a chunk of how your food affects you physically, in my opinion, is how you think of it when you're eating it. I know that's weird. I'm just throwing it out there. So if you are literally just not able to buy organic, for example, you have to buy things on that good, better, best spectrum that's more on the side of just good. Like, you're not eating Doritos, but you're not getting organic, local, whatever. It's okay. First off, it's okay. But second off, you want to make sure your mindset around food is really good. So you don't want to be beating yourself up while you're eating your non-organic produce. You want to just be knowing, like, this is going to feed my body how it's supposed to, and you want to think positively about it. I know that sounds weird and this may not resonate with you at all, but I really do believe that how you think about your food while you're eating it actually affects how that food affects your body. So that's kind of my answer to you, is to do the best you can to cut other things out of your life. A few dollars here, a few dollars there. Can you slim back there? But then also, once you've done the best you can, just have a positive, thought life around your food. Oh, it's so annoying because I want to just keep answering questions and talking, but I really got to go. Not only do we have things to do, but I also have other videos I want to film. I feel like I'm on such a roll today. I want to keep going. And honestly, is anybody still listening at this point? Tell me in the comments if you are. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you found this helpful. Every single time I film a video, I'm not kidding you, every single time, especially a chatty video, I'm always like, was this interesting or helpful at all? So I hope it was. And I will see you guys in the comments. I will, God willing, see you guys back here soon for another new video. And maybe I'll do another Q&A in a couple weeks, because this really isn't that big of a deal to film. And similar to the Patreon call, I like just connecting with you guys in this way. And if you are listening now by any chance, I want to know any thoughts that you have in the comments, any requests, any comments, all of that jazz. And that's it. All right. Bye, guys.